All right. Neil Ratnar Rock Doc here with a story. So, Jon Anderson, singer, songwriter, and co founder of the band Yes, turned 77 this past week. So, I thought I'd tell you a few things about Jon Anderson that you might not know. And as usual, a little background first. So, Anderson's parents were county ballroom dancing champions and named their son after an English singer who toured as John Roy the Melody Boy. Now, at 15, Anderson's father became very ill, causing John to leave school so that he could go work and help support the family, right? So he took a job on a farm as a truck driver transporting bricks, and he had another job as a milkman. And he had no particular desire to be in the music business, to be a singer, nothing like that. But then his brother Tony took up singing and joined a local group called the Electric Warriors. And when one of the group's backup singers left, Jon filled in and found music way more enjoyable and a much better choice for making money than the manual labor he'd been doing. All right. Now, in May of 1968, Jon was introduced to bassist Chris Squire from the band Mabel Greer's Toy Shop. And the two hit it off immediately and found that they shared common musical interests like Simon and Garfunkel and the idea of vocal harmonies. Now, the result would be a band that they would form with Jon Anderson, Chris Squire, Bill Bruford, and Tony Banks. And when it came to a name, Anderson suggested that they call the new band Life. Squire suggested that it be called World. And Banks just responded, yes. And that was how the band were named. So it wasn't Life and it wasn't World, it was Yes. Now, although the band had no formal leader, Jon served as its main motivating force in the early days, doing most of the hustling for gigs, and he also wrote many of the songs. He also played a key role in initiating their more ambitious artistic ideas. Now, Jon was both interested and inspired by other bands popular at the time, especially King Crimson. And Jon, with other members of Yes, actually went to see King Crimson the first time they played, which was at a club called the Speakeasy in London. I can tell you from personal experience, the Speakeasy was this great club. Kind of like, I guess, in many ways, the Scene in New York, Speakeasy in London. You know, when I was living in London in the early 70s, I would go there every night, and there would be all kinds of great music. I think when I was there, the Average White Band was the house band, and you would see rock stars all the time, and the music was fabulous. Of course, a lot of these bands you never heard of, like, Anderson went with Yes to see King Crimson, who nobody knew about. And that was the King Crimson with my old friend Greg Lake. At any rate, Speakeasy, London, great club. Now, Steve Howe joined Yes in 1970 after their original band member Tony Banks left. And that really gave Jon Anderson a real writing partner and a new direction for the band. And Jon and Steve would constantly write together whenever they could, and especially on tour. On tour, you have a lot of downtime, whether it's on a bus or on a plane, waiting for a gig, after the gig. And so Steve and Jon spent a lot of time together writing songs. Now, Jon is also responsible for most of the mystically themed lyrics and concepts, which are part of many Yes songs. And the lyrics are frequently inspired by books that influenced Jon, like Tolstoy's War and Peace, Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha, and a footnote in a great book, Paramahansa Yogananda's Autobiography of a Yogi, inspired an entire double album, Tales from Topographical Oceans, in 1973. And there are recurring themes that Anderson used in his writing, which include environmentalism, pacifism, and sun worship. Now, Jon was a member of Yes across 3 different tenures between 1968 and 2008, and he, as I said, has co-written some of the band's best-known songs, including Roundabout, Owner of a Lonely Heart, and a song included on many Yes albums, I've Seen All Good People. Interestingly, in that song, Anderson's lyrics use the metaphor of a chess game to illustrate life's spiritual challenges. And Jon has stated that the line, "'cause it's time and time with your time," was an attempt to say that he would do anything that's required of him to reach God, and that he wanted the listener to feel in tune and in time with God. So that's that song. So, on a personal note, I saw a Jon Anderson, I guess it was a couple of years ago. He came up here and he played the Bearsville Theater. He did something very cool. Paul Green, who started the Rock Academy in Philadelphia, after he sold out, he came up here and created a Paul Green Rock Academy in Woodstock. He's now since gone back to Philadelphia. He might have had a non-disclosure clause when he sold out and stuff. You might have seen the movie with Jack Black. At any rate, so there's a Paul Green's Rock Academy here. And as you can imagine, a lot of the kids are kids of famous musicians and stuff like that. And we get people, famous people, who will come up and do gigs, little concerts with the Rock Academy. Jon Anderson did one. It was at the Bearsville Theater a number of years ago. A friend of mine invited me, and it was great, to see him do that. I think another one that I saw was Bill Payne from Little Feat. Also did one like that. So that's kind of a cool thing that happens sometimes. Yeah, so that's it for today. One other interesting thing about Jon Anderson, he's not singing in falsetto. That's his voice. And if you ever listen to interviews, he talks in that voice, he sings in that voice. He can never even do that kind of falsetto. So another interesting fact about Jon Anderson. All right, that's my story for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll have a story for you tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to talk about Peter Green, who also would have celebrated a birthday. Unfortunately, we lost Peter in 2020. But I'll have a story about him. And of course, on the weekend is 3 o'clock Saturday and Sunday, This Week in Rock, iHeartRadio, DST. All right, you know where to find me around the internet. And as I always like to tell you, always remember to keep on rocking. All right, see you somewhere soon. Bye for now.